FBN Broadcasting Network. I'm Kevin Cole.
And I'm Wead O'Keefe.
Today we have an interview with noted historian and senior advisor to the Ron Paul campaign, Doug Wead. Doug, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Noticing that the crowd supporting the Ron Paul campaign are younger Americans. What do you think of that?
Yeah, and you know, working in Iowa, I crisscrossed Iowa for weeks, and so many of these young people had voted for Barack Obama last time around. And some of them hadn't voted at all because they were too young. But they're new to the Republican Party, and I asked them why, and most of them, it had to do with the loss of the American dream, the fear of losing the American dream, that people are gaming the system, that it's corrupt, that it's unfair, that there aren't free markets now, and that the opportunity of becoming successful and living out the American dream is under threat.
Doug, I was reading your blog, and one of the things that stood out to me was this quote you had here. It says, "Journalism is dead in America. This is the age of entertainment." I was just wondering what your comments were on that.
Yeah, it's sad in a way, because there was a time where journalists would worship at the shrine of journalism, of truth. The whole idea was to be objective and to be truthful. I don't think it lasted very long. You look back through American history. I am a historian, write books about the American presidency, and most newspapers over the years were owned by people who had political interests. That's always been the case. There were the anti-Jackson papers, and then the Jackson people bought all their papers, and there were the Jackson papers, and they'd attack each other on either side. And so it's nothing new. But we did have a brief period of time in American history where journalists sought some independence and sought to report the truth. That's pretty much dead now. America was one of the few countries on earth where you couldn't buy journalists. You could still. There were big companies. They'd produce a movie, and the same company also would own a major magazine, and they'd make sure that their movie was on the cover of the magazine. And you could still, the news was commercialized, but there was a degree of independence. Not anymore. They get their marching orders, and they want to keep their jobs. They do what they're told.
The Ron Paul campaign's goal is to get as many delegates as possible. Have you been noticing the voter turnout, and how important is the voter turnout?
It's extremely important, and at times we've been disappointed. But we've got the best people on earth. They're the most committed on earth, and compared to any other campaign under any other circumstances, you can't compare them. They aren't really Ron Paul people. They're people who care about liberty and care about the U.S. Constitution and care about their own freedoms and are willing to stand up for them. So it's a great group. John Tate sometimes talks about it like herding cats, because each one is independent, so they do what they want to do. So sometimes it's hard to organize them and work as a team. It would have made the campaign much more efficient had we been able to do that. But nobody's complaining. Everybody's proud of the people and the work they've done.
Doug, we see that you're going to be in Texas on Sunday for a Tea Party rally. We haven't heard much from the Tea Party in the last few years. They were really big a couple years back, but they've kind of gone out of the mainstream media. So we're wondering if there's been a fundamental change in what the Tea Party is now. With Ron Paul's supporters being very young, we're wondering if the Tea Party is now going to morph into something a little bit more what it was intended for. Limited government, more constitutional government, and with the young people really being the new face of the Tea Party.
That's a good observation, Kevin. So many of these organizations become corrupted and lose their original intent and purpose. I don't know if any of them ever became corrupted as quickly as the Tea Party did in some regions of the country, where they, sold out if they had a nice offer. But the original intent and some of the original organizers of the Tea Party and their original purpose, the spirit of the Tea Party, that's alive, and that's ongoing, and no bureaucracy will kill it, no political compromise will kill it. It may take a different form and even a different name. That's very much alive.
Doug, we've learned that the Santorum camp has been approaching the Romney camp looking for deals. They want to bring their supporters over, but they also want to make sure they get a deal in the trade. Have they been trying to do this with the Ron Paul campaign?
Yeah, the Santorum-Romney alliance really is very much underway. Ron Paul's committed, his first loyalty is to his own people and to those who believe in the Constitution and want to see a return to the Constitution. You know, we've always talked about it as a revolution, but I think it's a misnomer. I think this is a counter-revolution back to what we were. I mean, the revolution is George W. Bush and Barack Obama. The revolution is nationalizing the banks, which is what Francois Mitterrand's socialist government of France did. The revolution is bailouts of the major banks and giveaways to political constituents, which we've seen under Barack Obama. We have seen under Barack Obama, and I'm sure he didn't intend it, but it shows how uncontrollable our economy is. We've seen the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich under Barack Obama, who's America's most liberal president. It's amazing. And the whole process started with the nationalizing of the banks under a Republican administration, which Obama keeps pointing out. And he's right. But it's been two very damaging administrations that have, in effect, given us a revolution, a change in government. Just 2 presidents ago, a president couldn't bug your phone without a signature from a judge. Now he can kill you. So we've had some real changes. And what we're calling for is a counter-revolution back to the U.S. Constitution. They say we're dangerous and extreme. Yeah, we're dangerous. We want to balance the budget. That's dangerous. We want peace. That's really dangerous.
Doug, we have one last question for you. With Santorum out of the race, with Newt Gingrich looking like he's going to be dropping out of the race, are we seeing the mainstream media finally picking up and starting to follow Ron Paul?
A little bit. That's natural because it's when you're a threat that they don't want to give you any coverage after their man seems to have the nomination wrapped up. Then they're going to give us some coverage so that when the final surveys and polls are done, they can say, see, we had X number of news stories for Ron Paul, X number of news stories for Romney. And so that's typical. They're rushing to scrub their stats.
Doug, thank you for joining us. It's been quite informative. We know that our viewers will be interested in hearing what you have to say.
Thank you, Lloyd.
And thank you, Doug. It was an honor talking to you. Thank you.
It's an honor speaking with you, and thank you for all that you're doing on the Freedom Broadcasting Network. It's great work.